This is Hayden Hoogeveen Field Crop 20. This is my final project. This is how basically an air seeder works, and what it does, like basically how all the components work, how it helps us to get the crop in. Alright, so starting here at the back, we have our fan. Now the fan is what produces the forced air to blow the seed from this cart here to the seeding system. Now that fan is run off hydraulic pressure. So basically the tractor has a hydraulic pump, and it pumps hydraulic fluid out of these ports. Make sure those are all closed because it's bad when dirt and stuff gets in there. So it basically pumps it and circulates it and turns the fan back here. Now this one has two fans, some have one big one, just depending on the size of the drill. If we come up here, we have our tanks, and we have some tanks that we use for seed, like this one right here. So basically, you fill this up with seed, and this is where you store everything. So either put seed in the back tank, put seed in the front tank, whatever. We usually run seed in the back tank, fertilizer in the front tanks. And then if we're using some kind of inoculant, we usually put it in these smaller tanks here. Yeah, so just let me come down here and we'll look at the bottom. Now you're probably wondering how we control the rate which seed and fertilizer come out. And it is controlled with these, it's basically an auger. So there's a motor that turns that auger right here, and it pushes seed from the bottom. The seed runs, this is the bottom of the tank, so the seed runs there, and then it gets augered over here, and basically dumps into this pressurized tube right here from the fan. The fan's back there, so the forced air brings all the seed up through here, and depends, you know, there's a few different ones hooked up to this. So this one might be for seed and inoculant, so it all goes into the same tube, and then basically it just gets forced up those pipes, come around to the front here, up those pipes, up the tower here, comes down, goes, splits into these hoses. Now these hoses go to different towers on the drill. So basically we'll just go up to a tower here. So we can get up here. So basically you see that big black hose there. Comes up bottom of the tower, and it shoots up to the middle of the tower over here. I'll just take the cover off here so you can see. So it shoots up here and hits the top of this, and it basically evenly disperses through all these hoses. And then these hoses go all the way down there to our shank. Now this is the piece of the drill at which the seed comes out. So that little line right, or this big line right there, is the seed hose. So it comes all the way down there, and this thing basically opens the ground, and then the seed falls in behind it right there. And then as this opens the ground, this packer wheel closes the ground. So basically just That's how it plants it. Now I'm going to talk about how the fertilizer system works. It's a similar thing back here. So we have, here we go, right here. We have an auger at the bottom of the tank, which pushes seed to there, drops it in the big hose, runs it all the way up there, and drops it into these big hoses. Now these big hoses go all the way up to the front here to these discs. And these discs do a similar thing. They open the ground. I'm gonna look at one on the bottom here, I guess. They open the ground, and then fertilizer goes through there and puts fertilizer in the ground. Now it puts fertilizer in the ground kind of where the shank is. So it puts it about that far away from where the seed's going. So that way the seed has available fertilizer, and there's a row of these, and then these are row discs, and then all the shanks are staggered. So you have a row of fertilizer, and then the shanks are kind of like that, if you get what I mean. So the fertilizer's beside the seed, and that way it's plant available. And you're wondering how we control the rate at which seed and fertilizer comes out of the tank here, because, you know, when we're seeding canola, we probably don't want as much seed coming out of there as when we're seeding peas, like the volume amount. So I'm going to show you how we calibrate that. So what we will do is, see, we're calibrating the seed. We'll take this little hose off here, and we'll just point it straight down, and then we'll put a pail under there so it catches all of it. And then we'll go to the drill, we'll run the drill, and it'll run these motors. And these motors will turn at whatever speed we have set at. And then it dumps all the seed into the pail. And after we have all the seed in the pail, we'll weigh the pail minus the weight of the pail. And that'll give us our, basically how much seed's coming out of here. So that's how we calibrate it. So if we have way too much seed coming out of there, we need to slow this motor down to correct it, basically. And there's a computer in the tractor which turns those, the rate is the same, but more will come out when this cart is moving faster, and less will come out when the cart is moving slower. That's kind of a newer technology. A lot of the old systems did not have that. So you just kind of had to drive about whatever you were going, 3 to 4 miles an hour all the time, and hopefully you were getting the same rate. And these are a little bit more high tech. We'll come up here. So the hydraulics on the tractor pretty much controls everything back here. So it controls the fans, and it also controls all of these discs and shanks. So when we're turning around, there's hydraulic lines around all over here. So basically when we're going to turn around, we lift it up. This hydraulic ram here will lift up this shank like that. That way you're not dragging it in the field. And then when we're moving fields, there's big hydraulic rams, as you can see right there, which will lift, we call them wings. It'll lift the wings of the aero drill up so you can drive down the road. All controlled by hydraulics. We can go to the tractor next to just show you some of that like seed shutoff stuff and how all the hydraulic remotes are and stuff. I'll just hop in the tractor here real quick. There we go. All right. So these two hydraulic remotes right here control our fans. So we'll turn those on and lock them on. That way there's always hydraulic fluid circulating, turning that fan. So those pretty much get left on all day. We put these little covers on so you can't accidentally flip one off or whatever. But yeah, these will get pulled back and locked. So you can pull it back. In one position here, it'll lock. You unlock it. This is the master switch for all of the seed. So when you're like 10 feet from finishing the pass, you'll shut that off. Or I think it's off right now, but off. And then it'll stop those little motors back there in the cart. And you know, you have 5 seconds for actually the seeding system to empty out, because there's going to be seed still in all of the lines. So you shut that off about, I don't know, 10 feet before you're done the pass. And then this is the raise and lower switch for all of the under there, all of the discs and the shanks, because you don't want to drag them in the field when you're turning. So you want to have it all lifted up and shut it off, make your corner, come around here. We have auto steer, hit the auto steer. We'll hit our master switch to get it all charged up, and then we'll sink the drill in the ground with that switch right there. And that is kind of a basic how you would run this piece of equipment. It's fairly complicated, but that's just to kind of dumb it down a little bit. Then in these drills, the tank's actually not on here right now, but we run Alpine. Now what Alpine is it's kind of it's a fertilizer. It's basically what comes out of these little blue lines here, and we usually have a tank pulled at the back of that, and that it's a liquid tank, and that liquid tank has a pump in it, and it pumps all the way up here and comes out these little blue lines, and it's a source of plant available fertilizer. So regular fertilizer and like regular phosphorus fertilizer, it needs water to activate, and basically it's got to turn from phosphorus to phosphate, so it's plant available. This stuff is phosphate, so it's plant available right away. So that kind of gives the plant a little bit of a boost until we get a rain to make all the other fertilizer work. I think that's pretty much all I can talk about on this big equipment. But yeah, that's basic operation of the air drill and how it works actually. Now there's lots of little things that I could talk about, but that's the gist of it. All right, bye. That was my final project.